So for the past couple of weeks, people have been theorizing and theorying, just guessing themselves that we're getting a Moon Knight trailer within the next couple of weeks. First it was last week, then it was this week. I'm not going to put my theory out there, but if I had to venture a guess, we're going to wait for Book of Boba Fett to be done. We're going to wait till after the Super Bowl, and I'm going to guess the show will be premiering mid-March. That's just a guess, whatever. But we do have a couple of weeks here before potential content comes out for Moon Knight. And I wanted to make one more video kind of talking about what I want to see from the actual show. I did this about 2 years ago where I had some other ideas that I wanted to see come up. And I wanted to do it again knowing now what we know about Disney Plus. And I was like, okay, so we have a couple shows out to give a basis for it. We got our 6-episode arc structure for some of these shows. What could we potentially see? And what would I like to see from that? So I got 10 things here that I'm genuinely hoping are things that are done for the show or adjacent to the show. These are things that are related to it, but sometimes they're not directly intrinsically connected to what the show is doing. It's just part of it. So here are 10 things that I'd like to see done for the Moon Knight series. First off, I gotta talk about the relationship between Mark and Marlene. It's complicated, it is a mess at times, and I think it could be overlooked as a toxic relationship, and I think it is at times. There has definitely been modern portrayals where it shows you that Marlene doesn't want to be there and she has moved on past the necessity for Mark, but I think if we're starting out at the beginning of their relationship, because I have to imagine, again, I don't know, I would have to imagine we're going to see the early days when Mark first dons the suit. I think there should be that built-up relationship there, because in the earlier books, she's the love interest. She doesn't have much going for her at times, but the love's there. And having that relationship, I think, is a key factor to having Mark be likable to the larger universe. When you see this strong, capable woman liking him, it makes you more invested in his story, and you're like, oh, this guy is actually likable and we can support him and be a part of his world. And that's something I think needs to be shown and experienced. So I want to see that romance built up and eventually broken, because the comic books have a bunch of people romancing it up at times, but the movies and these television shows stay away from it largely. I think the only one we've really seen is Wanda and Vision. I'm not saying go to that extreme, but we should play up the fact that these two are broken and they find each other in this world. They help each other out, and eventually their toxic traits become the worst of them and they split up because of it. Now, my second one here is going to be controversial. I have no doubt about it. Be, divisive. I think this is a very important thing to the Moon Knight character. I did a video a couple months back talking about what you do when you have a cult classic character like this who's going to be propped into the forefront of popular culture. There's an inherent need to make him the most likable and cool character out there, where suddenly he's the most popular and it's going to change the way people view him and the culture accepts him. That is something that worries me about it. So I want this to be like Eternals. And I'm not saying Eternals is a great film. I'm not saying Eternals is a bad film. Eternals divides people. It's either you like what it's doing or you don't. And to me, that's the key to making Moon Knight work. He should be a figure that not everyone is going to wrap their head around, not everyone's going to be accepting of or like. That is something the character has always been. He's never been in the forefront. He's never been a top tier character. And I want that to be the case for the MCU as well, because when he becomes the number one character, it loses that inherent specialness to him. So I want it to be like going into the show 50% on Rotten Tomatoes for audience and critics. I want this to be like, a mixed bag for everybody. It's like, this is really weird. It's taking chances. I don't know if it's going to work for everybody. That is what I really want to see happen with this character, and I hope we get to that point. Part of me thinks we will. If this is a big swing, I hope it gets to that point where it's like the fans, the diehard fans, are even divided themselves, but they're like, this is the character. This is what we've been telling people for years, that this guy is all over the place. And that's something I hope we do see represented on screen in some capacity. If it's just the standard 90% all around for everybody, that upsets me a little bit, because again, it's cool, but it's like, come on, let's try something different. Don't stick to the basic Marvel stuff with a character who could literally be interpreted as anything and everything all of the time. So my third one here, another one I kind of talked about in my last video, Make Khonshu a physical representation. I love the idea of the voice in the head. I always say, keep it ambiguous if he is a real person or if he's a figment of Mark's, idea. But we have gods existing in this universe, so I have no doubt that it's going to be an actual god we are seeing. But if that's the case, have an actor being Khonshu on set. I don't want a big CGI bird showing up. I don't want a little Jiminy Cricket on his shoulder. Give me an actual actor with a big bird skull and a tuxedo walking around bothering Mark. That is, I think, an essential part of modern Moon Knight, where the character has now become this I say this too. I should say this, actually. Khonshu, to me, is the ultimate Moon Knight villain because he's the thing that created him and he's the thing that destroyed him. I want to see that as a character, and I'm interested to see what Ethan Hawke's going to do. I do believe he's Sun King, but I think having that be the case, having Khonshu actually be there, is super important and something that might get overlooked. I have doubts that they'll do it, but I also believe you got a talented team here. They might just go all out and crazy for it. So I really hope we see a physical manifestation of Khonshu. Now, my number 4 here, it's a little bit different. I wanted to bring this up because I think so far of the Disney Plus original series, both Marvel and Star Wars, they've been super good at the posters that they've dropped. After every week, it's a new poster for the character they're introducing. When it comes to the posters for Moon Knight, I want a different poster for each one of the personalities. I want 1 week we're getting the Mark Specter poster, the next week we're getting the Jake Lockley poster, the next week we're getting the Stephen Grant poster, next week we're getting the Moon Knight, and the next week we're getting the Mr. Knight. Give me a different poster for each one. I could see them kind of splitting it up, where it's like, oh, maybe Jake's going to become the Mr. Knight persona, and Mark's going to be the Moon Knight, and Stephen will be his own thing. But no, give me different posters. I want to see all the costumes. I want to see all the characters. Give me the one with like the old school flat-hatted cabbie with the mustache. Give me like the rich eccentric billionaire guy. That's a cool thing to do. I hope they take that chance to be like, yeah, we present them as different characters. The audience is going to see that they are distinctive and different personalities within this person, so we're not just going to be having Oscar Isaac doing different voices. Which leads me to my number 5. Oscar Isaac doing different voices, because look, the teaser came out. I think my biggest criticism was Oscar Isaac was doing an interesting accent. It was distinguishably British, but it was just like, okay, that's weird. If that's the route we're going, give them all accents, make him play. If he's doing Steven, maybe he's like a rich, eccentric billionaire from America. Give him the big southern draw, maybe. That could be fun to see. I see like the cabbie Jake Lockley in the one we did here. His normal voice could obviously be Mark Specter. Do that. Play with it. Go crazy. Explore those opportunities. Make it weird. Have Oscar Isaac pretending he's a little kid. That was one in the Ultimate Comics, I think. That would be so weird and literally unheard of on television. Like, it's just so out of the box that I would love to see them try that. So let Oscar Isaac explore these accents. Try different things. Talk weird. Sound funny. That would be really cool to see. Now, my number 6, again, is kind of similar to my one of the posters. This is name the episodes. There are 6 episodes. Name them each after the phase of the moon. Now, I don't know anything about the moon's rotation or how we interpret that. I know there's like the full moon and there's the new moon and there's like the crescent and everything in between. Use those names or steal them right from Twilight. And you can use Eclipse and Twilight and Breaking Dawn and New Moon. Like give these titles the name where it sounds like we're seeing this thing opening or closing. Like here's the brightness of the front. It's suddenly closing into this eclipse. Like it's getting darker as the stages go down. We're seeing like the story react and relate to the way the title's named. It starts with the new moon. It goes to the full moon. Then it goes to the eclipse. I think that would just be pretty fun. They've been pretty good with the titles so far. The WandaVision titles were great. I think the Loki titles were cool. It's a dumb little thing that I don't think anybody else is going to think about when they talk about what they want to see in this show. But titles like that are important. And I think having something like that for a character like this just shows you we are intrinsically connected to the moon, and we should play with that and explore that a little bit more. Now, my number 7, this one is crucial to the lighting department of the show. Do not put Moon Knight in the shadows. There's an easy idea here because it's cheaper when you hide your character in the darkness. The CW does it all the time. Earlier Marvel stuff does, Netflix does it. The character is literally steeped in being in a white costume. He wears it so the bad guys see him coming. I want everything else in the shadows. Make it dark and brooding as you want. But from those shadows, you see the full costume of the Moon Knight illuminating through it. The modern comic book that's currently ongoing does a great job of this, just highlighting Mark Specter when he's in the Moon Knight suit with this blue aura around him. I'm not saying do that for this show, but try to go that route where it's like when there's all this darkness around him, he still stands out. We are still looking at him perfectly. Everything about him is visible and clear. We are not seeing him in the shadows. He is standing outside the shadows while he is in the shadows. That is a crucial thing. That is something that people need to understand about the character. He sticks out. He should stick out. I understand the need, and I do get it. Put him in the shadows. He is like a ninja in the night, stalking you and hunting you. But the moon is literally above you at every moment. It is illuminated in the sky. That is what Moon Knight should be. That is how we should see him. Not in the shadows, in the full light of the moon. That's what needs to be done. Now, my number 8 is kind of personal, but I have to say it because it's very important. There's been rumors going around about potential cameos for this show. Limited, I shouldn't say limited to, but pretty much limited to Mahershala Ali as Blade, Kit Harington as Black Knight, potentially a Ghost Rider thing. I'm going to say this because it needs to be said. This is his first time being seen in any media, okay? Don't use his first 6 episodes to set up the Midnight Suns. He's never been on a Midnight Suns team. They only joked about it when Greg Smallwood did that artwork for Damnation. He's never a part of this team. Moon Knight needs to stand on his own before he's introduced to the rest of the Marvel Universe. He can stand on his own. He stands on his own in his comic books all the time. You don't have to connect him to Blade. There's no vampire connection for Moon Knight. That's recent stuff because Moon Knight Corps made the joke. There's no connection to vampires, so why would he meet Blade? Why would he meet Black Knight? There's no reason for him to meet Black Knight. That makes no sense. Why would Black Knight be on a Midnight Suns team? If anything, Blade and Black Knight would be on the Excalibur team because they're both British. Like, that is what they should do. Why would Moon Knight be connected to that? Because he's horror-based? He's kind of horror-based. He's not, like, really steeped in the horror. He's fought werewolves, vampires, and Frankensteins before, but he's not a horror-based character. He doesn't need to be on the Midnight Suns team. You don't need to use this to set up a Midnight Suns team. It's just not what we want to see. It really would just... I'm stumbling here because it's just so infuriating. It just takes away from the momentum we're building. If it's like, now here's Blade, another character we haven't seen before, telling him we're going to start our own horror side of the Avengers. Like, don't. You don't need to do that. It's not good. It's not worth it. There's better times to do that. That's what the Blade movie's for. Let's just let this be a weird thing with the Egyptian gods. And that comes to my number 9. Keep the Egyptian god and that entire lore in the background. I know I say it all the time. Like there's a weird thing when it comes to Moon Knight where he could literally be anything. So the horror stuff is fine. The Egyptian lore thing is fine. I like the idea of putting him in kind of the Thor scenario where instead of the Norse mythology, it becomes the Egyptian mythology. That's kind of cool. I will say I would like to see that, but I don't want that to be the driving force. And there's rumors like it's going to be like a battle of the gods and Moon Knight's just being like manipulated. Yeah, that's a good run. I've read that book. It's cool. But I don't think that's where we should go for the beginning, you know? Like, I understand the Khonshu stuff. I get the Ra and Sun King comparisons that are being made. That could be kind of cool, I guess. But I just hope it's like, okay, it's still happening over here. We're going to fight Midnight Man. We're going to fight Black Specter. We're going to do Bushman. But while that's going on, there's a war in the background of the gods literally building their avatars to fight each other. We don't have to have that be at the forefront. Now, there is precedent for it because Moon Knight did fight Anubis a couple times and he did fight Sun King. So I'm okay with it, but I'm like, this is his first outing. That's a lot. You know, even in the first Thor movie, he fought Destroyer. That's just a big robot. So in the first time we see Moon Knight, do we really need it to be the god of death and like the god of the sun sending their avatars of death and destruction down to fight him? It's a lot. We could have it being set up, but we don't need that to be the big thing. And finally, one thing I really want to see from this show. Let Mark Specter be legit crazy. It's hard because it's family-friendly Marvel, and they haven't taken that many big swings, but I think between what we saw of John Walker and Falcon and Winter Soldier, some of the stuff we've seen in Spider-Man No Way Home and in WandaVision, we can get a little bit more mature. And I hope that's the case, because there should be that intrinsically dark thing about Moon Knight where it's like, is he sane or is he crazy? Do we believe that this guy is actually experiencing these things, or are they all in his head? I want that to be the case for this. In a perfect world, which we're not going to get here, in a perfect world, it would never be revealed to you if he's crazy or not. I like that ambiguity because that just makes it interesting in a different way. But it's family friendly, so he's going to be a little more silly. But I just hope that silliness isn't the joke, because Midnight's not a joke. And I think if you could play it up like when he's in the group settings, he's like, this guy's crazy. And it's just like a silly crazy like Nicolas Cage. But I don't want that to be the case. I want him to be unstable. I want people to look at him and just like be frightened by him because he's so insane and just awkward to look at. That's the dream. That is what I want to see for this character. I don't know if we're ever going to get that, but let him be crazy. We're moving on in our storytelling where the audience is growing up with us. Try something new. Give us an unlikable lead who is struggling to find his place. That is what Moon Knight should be. That is what Mark Specter should be. That is why he should be legit crazy. So those are my reasons and the stuff I do want to see from the Moon Knight show. A lot of it is probably not going to happen, but I do think there's some things in here that would just add to the show, whether it's like off camera or off screen and just stuff with the posters and the titles, or just stuff with the characters and their romance and the lighting and all that things. I do like this character, and if you want to see more of my Moon Knight content, it will be in the playlist Moonwatch, because as soon as that show starts, you can expect a lot more content coming for this character. And if you have anything else you'd like to hear me say on the character, leave it in the comments, and maybe I will do a video based on that. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.
Our demon, face the vengeance of the Moon Knight.